Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, I'm back from holiday. I was away for a week and it is time for another live stream. Now, the title on this live stream changed about 2 minutes before I went live, and I was going to talk about this a little bit. However, I've just heard something that reinforces what was whispers before, or at least seen something. And whilst I can't necessarily talk about what I've seen, I can talk about the content, and that is, are we about to see a drought, a restriction on FPV gear being available to us, including things like flight controllers, ESCs, and video transmitters? Now, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. We're also going to talk about the fact that everyone wants to make an O3 whoop, and they are literally coming out of the cupboards. They are literally pouring out onto the floor. Everyone under the sun is making some. I got to be careful because there's some I'm allowed to talk about. There's probably some I'm not allowed to talk about. I think I've got like 3 coming for review from various manufacturers. We've then got the situation with Avatar HD and race mode. You may have noticed I don't have a video out on it yet. That is coming tomorrow. It is actually here. I've actually had it about a week and a half, 2 weeks, but I was on holiday for 1 week of that period, and I needed more time before rushing a video out to be able to do all of the testing that I wanted to do with regards to this new firmware, because it isn't as simple as just taking this race mode, flying it around wherever you want to fly it and go, yeah, this seems to be good, because there are huge, interesting questions that you need to understand around race mode, in the sense of, does it still operate the way Avatar HD did in the past, i.e. do the goggles still transmit? Do they still have all of the quirks? We're also going to talk a little bit about these. We've got some new antennas, and I haven't done the review on them yet. We've got the G2s for the DJI. I have received a care package. Let me just reach down. From Flytribe. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. And I want to say a massive thank you to these guys, actually, for sending this over. I've only peeped in the bag, but I haven't peeped properly. But we got a care package, and we've got the new Flytribe magazine as well, which I haven't looked at, and we will be taking a look at that a little bit later. But they have sent me a care package, so there might be some shilling going on here later. I also finally have this. Yes, I have a T20 in hand. Now, the box says it's the T20S, which should mean this is the pot edition, Alps, I think. I don't know. I'm confused. We may try and find out in this stream. And we'll probably talk about something else along the way as well. Now, as always, I want to say a big hello to everyone in the chat. I'm not going to waste too much time on the day saying hello to every person like I usually do. You are all amazing. I want to get on with it tonight because there's a lot to talk about. But thank you to everyone who is here. As I said, I was on holiday last week. I took some time off, which did allow me to get some stuff done, finished, redone the whoop as well. This is all done, and I will be doing a video on this when I get a chance. This is the cutback version of the Pavo Pico with the Ultra air unit, just to show you. And this is the finished build with a new duct, although this duct is still broke. Look, I cracked it there. They're not fragile at all, right? These ducts apparently are not fragile at all. Yeah, I've broke 2. It's been completely rebuilt from the ground up. New props as well. O3 Lite, Ultra, I should say, on board. And the camera mounted. And I'm going to be talking about this one in the future. But this is just one of them that we're going to be looking at. I've also built this, which is the Avatar race kit, and I will talk about that a bit more in a minute. Ow, I've got a prop stuck in my finger. Let's get it out. Now I'm going to take a sip of my tea before we start. I haven't actually... Does it act like a duck did? Somewhat. It's a very mild duck did. Okay. Haha, GMI, interesting. Wait for my review tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to come off this one for this. Now, before we do, there's a couple of things I want to get out the way, first of all, on the stream. Number one, if you don't know, I do have a Discord. I do have my Discord chat up. I did have my Discord chat up. I've lost it. There it is. So hello, everyone over in Discord. I can see that as well. If you don't know, I do have one. I also have a Patreon as well. Now, just to clear up, before I do this, I just want to start this stream saying one thing. This week, after this stream, I am going to be launching membership on the channel on YouTube. Now, I haven't done this in the past. I don't really know why. This is sort of to go alongside Patreon. There are a lot of people who support this channel on Patreon who are amazing. I want to say thank you to everyone. But there are obviously people who don't really use Patreon, who don't want to use Patreon. So I'm going to turn that on. But I'm going to see what happens. Let's see what happens. But anyway, oh my God, I've just seen Mr. Booth is here. For those who don't know, Mr. Ken Booth. Oh my God, I'm going to have to behave. Right, let's get on with the main subject. Now, there's been a lot of question marks why you can't get yourself a set of these. Now, let me just find them. And it is this, the Avatar HD goggles. Now, this is a brand new set, which I happen to have. And if you go on the Avatar website, and I haven't prepped this because I'm lazy. If you go on Cadex's website, oh my God, I've also forgot. You can tell I've been off for a week. I'm not in sorts. I haven't got NVIDIA running, which means I haven't got... Is that going to even work? No, it isn't. 1 second. See, this is how bad a YouTuber I am. I've forgotten to get bloody broadcast. I always forget to set broadcast. For some reason, right, broadcast always changes to the wrong camera for me, and I don't know why. Right, let's do that. Let's go back to the desktop, and I'll end up cutting this out in a minute. Boom! There we go. I'm back now. Okay. So, over the last few weeks, I have heard whispers, rumours, and all sorts of noise about potential problems with the availability of some upcoming products, especially from China, as a result of the new bans that are coming. Now, there's been a lot of talk around why there is a shortage of some products on the market, and there's actually been people asking, hey, are we going to get a new set of goggles from Cadex, from Avatar HD, because their goggles are out of stock on the website. And if we do go onto the website and we take a look, if we actually go onto the products and we go onto the Avatar system, pretty much all of the goggles are out of stock. They're just out of stock. Oh, they were out of stock. At the moment, it says buy now. That's interesting. Can we add to cart? Who said we couldn't buy goggles? You haven't been able to buy goggles for about a week and a half. You can today. Anyway. Ah, Fat Shark. Yeah, they're shipping Fat Sharks a minute. That's a point. Someone has just noticed. They're shipping Fat Sharks, are they? Anyways. Okay. There's been a shortage of Avatar goggles. Now, I have heard whispers that this new Chinese ban may have an effect on supply of FPV components. Just before this stream, and I can't tell you what I've seen, but I have seen an email saying that there is going to be issues from a vendor. Now, this is for parts. It isn't for ready-to-fly aircraft, and we're talking flight controller, ESC, and VTXs. Now, this really looks like, from what I've seen, that pretty much all parts of FPV are going to be affected by this new ban that China have introduced. And there's a very real possibility that there is going to be a huge shortage of stuff coming up. Now, I just want to say this. I am not saying people should run out and buy stuff. I don't want to be blamed for everything going out of stock because everyone is run out and buying stuff. But it does appear that the new ban, and GMI has asked, what's the reason for it? It's to do with the war in Ukraine and Russia, is what it's to do with. And the Chinese government have introduced it. There's been a lot of chatter in the background on this, but it looks like we are going to have problems. Now, someone, Fly High FPV earlier, has just said something. I talked to Trappy TBS about the ban, and he said he ain't stopping. Okay, there we go. I won't reply his thing, but he said he won't. So Trappy has said he isn't stopping, but it does appear that vendors may start to be telling people that they won't be able to supply stuff from September. Now, it all does add in to a number of things that we've seen. Sellers in Poland receive such emails from their contractors in China. There we go. There's another one. Problems or opportunities for others. Other manufacturers told me no FC or VTX. It does appear that we are heading for a drought. Now, the bits we don't really understand on this is this going to be vendors can't supply companies, but they could supply companies in China, and companies in China are going to be able to sell over? We don't know. It isn't clear what the situation is, but what I have seen today is black and white that there will not be stock. Now, someone has just posted this, so I'm going to read this, and it is in the chat. And it is, Floaty FPV has said, a German seller said that T-Motor will stop exporting VTX, FC, and ESC. And I can confirm that is what I have seen. To back that up, the same brand. So that is an independent backing up of what we've said. So, things are about to get very, very interesting. Now, this is going to have far and wide implications, because not only is it going to affect the companies selling the products, but the retailers as well. Floaty FPV has said it only affects big orders from sellers. If private people order ESC or some motors, they can export it. That is very, very interesting. So potentially individual orders then will not be affected, but retailers would, which in fact, that's worse. Because that is basically going to potentially risk the likes of Get FPV, retailers in the UK, Unmanned Aerial Tech, and others. If you can order direct, okay. And that actually ties in a little bit to why vendors are still pushing products. And TBS would be fine. Yeah, that would be that. But it would cause some very big issues for the likes of Get FPV and others, and Rotor Riot. This is gonna be huge, and this is going to be messy. But sorry to be the harbinger of bad news. But look, someone else has independently seen what I've seen as well. And yeah, I think if it is going to affect only business to business. I think largely will be okay. What about RC gear from the likes of Radio Master and Jumper? I don't fully understand what is on the Chinese list. I would have it's a complicated, but it is basically all part. The way it was explained to me is basically any parts that would allow you to build a drone. So that could be everything around it. But emails are going out as we speak on this, and it is going out right now. Interestingly, floaty FPV, the sellers, T-Motor, iFlight, etc. can get a license for exporting to sellers, but they would have to get the license for every order, and they need to know what the seller will do with it. That's interesting. So it might not be as bad as we think. Yeah, it could be related to the support of that. I'm going to try and keep the country names out of this because the algorithm will ban me, basically. But yeah, it seems like this is rolling out as we speak, and it's happening right now. I don't know what this is about. Just to summarize, today I've seen evidence that companies are contacting retailers to say that from September they will not be able to supply FPV components such as flight controllers, ESCs and VTXs due to the new Chinese ban on exporting drones and parts as a result of the conflict over in the eastern side of the world. According to some of the people in the chat, and this is all unconfirmed, and I just want to be clear on that, they may be able to sell directly to consumers, but not directly to businesses without a special license, which would mean they would have to apply for it on every order. Does this include DJI O3 VTX? It would potentially include all parts of an FPV drone. But we're going to have to see. What is happening is vendors are starting to email people, or companies are starting to email their vendors to say, you will not be able to get anything from September. From the looks of it, Mr. Huggy said radio links are banned. However, if they can sell direct, that will mean things. So not DJI drones. It's not clear on someone like DJI. I would think DJI, being the size of DJI, have very close links to a certain government and probably didn't get around it. But there are reports popping up. Someone in the chat has said that T-Motor have been confirmed as one of the vendors emailing their suppliers to say they will not be able to supply stuff. And I have personally seen confirmation of that fact. That isn't hearsay. I have seen it with my own eyes. So, we're going to have to wait and see. Great news, though. How big of a problem it will be, we simply don't know. All we know is that this is starting to propagate around the internet literally now. Now, as for how this affects interesting things like Avatar HD, because it is sold under the Fat Shark brand. As Fat Shark are an American company, could this be seen as they're just sending them out? I don't know. That's a weird situation. If we just look on their website. So, Avatar HD Walksnail goggles. Now, here's what's really interesting is they've got the Avatar picture. So, what are they saying here? They're not saying Fat Shark in this brand. Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah, the brand. So, they can't ship Walksnails, but they can ship Fat sharks. Wow. That has to be something to do with it. That absolutely has to be something to do with it. So would this mean no FCVTXs on AliExpress? We don't know. Again, how this will pan out, we don't know. Look, this could all calm down and simply have a box that says, I need to confirm that I am using this for personal use before you can buy it. You could just have something like that as part of it. I don't know. It's not clear how this is going to pan out. Okay. It's more than hearsay. It'll be down to your country. Yeah. I fly KISS, so Almac's all right. Are there non-Chinese manufacturers at this point? I don't know. It's one. Yeah, well, I have heard other stuff on this in the background. I have been hearing stuff on this. Orqa seem to be coming to made EU FC soon. Yeah, they could benefit. Checkbox could work. Reasonable when it comes to things like this. Yeah, checkbox. I confirm I'm not going to do anything X, Y, and Z on this. Something is coming, though. But don't rush out and buy stuff you don't need, for God's sake. We're just going to have to wait and see. Yeah, maybe one per customer. Someone said, Nuo just said, an order limit. Yeah. Single orders, one per customer. It's going to be very interesting. It could largely be a nothing burger, but it could be a big one. We don't know. These things tend to sort themselves out. Okay. Now, I'm going to move on from that little crazy little thing. I haven't seen I haven't delved too deeply into the guidelines. All I have seen, I have had whispers for a few weeks that there may be problems with components. Just read Wes's comment. And I've seen confirmation of what vendors are sending out today. So, or one vendor at least. But I have heard of problems from multiple vendors as well. And look, if T-Motor are sending that out, if they are, that is a very big brand. FPV's going the way of graphics cards back in the mining area. Yeah, I will be peddling. I've got an F4 that you can buy for $600. And you got to go into a queuing system. That could be fun. Wow, it could get very, very interesting soon. If China wants to have an impact, they... These things do almost always go away. Yeah, I actually agree with you there, Lon. They start out as help major issues and then magically disappear. Yeah, I actually fully agree with you. The bit I don't see is China wanting to cut its nose off when it wants money. It could all be huff and puff to just make it look like they're doing something, and then there will be a get around it like a tick box, or you can sell direct to customers, or you have to have signed off that you don't supply military, or something like that. We've been here like so many times with the DJI bans, alleged bans, and yeah, these things tend to not ever turn quite as bad. You know, they need money really bad right now. It's interesting. Very, very interesting. We're going to have to wait and see. Okay. So I'm going to move on from that mad fact. Next, we're going to talk. What are we going to talk about? What have I put in the thing? We're going to talk a little bit about race mode, because this week, obviously, we had the release of this thing. The new Avatar HD VTX, which is the Nano Kit version 3, which actually is a Whoop VTX, but with a new power amplifier and larger storage. Now, my review on this didn't go live when everyone else's did, for two reasons. Number one, I wasn't ready, and number two, I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to go back and retest based on the new firmware, but also based on a few things that I hadn't tested the first time. And I do go over this in the video, and I don't want to go too much onto it in this, but we have new hardware, which is interesting. And for those who don't know, I have already uploaded onto repair.wiki the images of the new VTX. They are up here ready to rock and roll. So if we go here, and if we go onto the Avatar HD VTX, at the top here is the new images for, which is basically the Whoop version 3. Now, I do discuss this in the video, but for those who don't know, this new VTX is basically a version 3 of the Whoop. The PCB size is identical. The board is largely identical. What they've done is taken the version 2 Whoop VTX, added a regulator to allow it to take, I think this was it, 3 to 13 volts, and it put a new PA on it, allowing up to 500 milliwatts. But the overall board is actually identical. Just to give you an idea, this is the new one. This is a change here. We've got a buck regulator here. But if we actually go on, let me just go back a second and open up this one. This is the, so this is the Whoop version 2. Sorry, this is the Whoop version 3, the new one. And this is the Whoop version 2. Now, at the moment, they're not the same orientation, so it's not as easy for me to show you. But they are very, very similar. Actually, no, that's not the version 2. Get off that. Where is it gone? That's not right. Sorry. That's the original VTX. Sorry, that one there. So, open a new tab. Right, okay. Let's get that back again. I did that wrong. So, this is the Whoop version 2. Let me put that there. And this is the Whoop version 3. The only real difference is they've put a buck regulator here now. That's all they've done, is they've put a buck there. But the VTX is virtually the same. You can see it's actually called Avatar TX1S version 2. And the new one is Avatar TX1S version 3. So basically what they've done is taken the version 2, modified it, and turned it into the version 3. The images for it are all up on repair.wiki. The front and the back is there as well. It's got 32 gigs of onboard storage, a slightly different power amplifier that allows them to increase the RF output. So the new VTX is basically the Whoop VTX, and what they're going to do now is ship it to you either in this little box with this heatsink, and you get it for, say, race mode, or they're probably going to end up replacing the Whoop one with this one, just not in the heatsink. And in fact, some people who've ordered the Whoop one have already been getting this one. In fact, they started getting it 2 months ago. No one really noticed. So that's the thing with the VTX. However, there is a lot to discuss with regards to race mode. Now, I do have a dedicated video coming on this, and the overall performance, just to give you an early opinion, is it absolutely tries to keep the latency lower. So just to confirm, the new race mode on Avatar HD gives you race channels and it stabilizes the latency. It isn't fixed. It isn't lower latency than you get before. What it is doing is just pegging it down a little bit lower. Okay? It absolutely does that. However, that does come at the cost of image quality and especially penetration and compression performance. In my testing, the race mode is highly compressing. The image at times looks frankly horrible, and I'm not sure how people are going to get on with it. It might look a lot better over concrete, but in the greens and the lumas, it don't look good. I'm not saying it's not usable, but it doesn't look good. Now, I will give you guys a bit of a sneak peek of some footage. Now, I did a flight to push it around. This was actually my first test flight on it, I believe. Let me just find it. No, it's not that. Where is it? Is it this one? This was actually one of my... This here was one of my first test flights on it, just to see how it was behaving and just test it so I had an understanding of how it actually behaved. And the idea of this was me just throwing it around the field so I can watch the compression, I can watch how it behaves. There's certain moves I do on purpose in this so I can see what it does, how it handles the sky, how it handles the ground, where the compression line starts kicking in and out. I've learned how Avatar behaves. Now, obviously, this is goggles. This is at 25 milliwatts. And what you will see is the overall compression behavior is still very much there. But what is a bit weird with it is you get this sort of staggering of the compression. It's almost like a marching of it. And it's quite distracting. It's like there, you see this sort of movement of the compression in the image. It's not terrible, but the latency does come at the cost of image quality. But more than anything, it is doing what they say it's doing. Is there focus mode for race mode? No. Avatar doesn't really have focus mode already. Now, this is just a quick one of the test flights, and I talk about it a lot more. The camera looks really nice. I have to say this. I do like the Avatar camera, but what you're getting is this moving of the compression as you're flying, and it's quite distracting, to say the least. Now, what I will say, though, is it absolutely pegs the latency down. It definitely does. There's no question it pegs the latency down. It keeps it all of the time 23, 24, 25 milliseconds. It's much better than the standard mode. It was awful. Yeah, GMI's responding to my comments on it because I think he tried it. So that is the initial thought, but it definitely 100% keeps the latency down. However, fundamental issues in Avatar still remain the same in the fact of the goggles always transmit. When you power the goggles on, they do go to either channel RP or public channel on the DJI channel mapping, and it still has the same issues that if you're flying and you're on, say, race 1 and you disconnect the battery from your quad, the goggles keep transmitting on race 1. They don't jump to RP. They don't turn off transmitting. Avatar HD goggles still transmit all of the time. even in race mode. Nothing has changed. And I discussed this in the video. Overall, it's okay. I think it's a nice addition. I think they need to do some tweaks to it. What it isn't, though, is a night and day feature that I think is fundamentally better. What I also don't quite understand, and I do talk about this in the review as well, is why can you only have 540p in race channel mode? I don't quite understand why Caddx have limited this. So, for instance, normal mode gives you 720p or 1080p, high and low bandwidth, high and low latency. Race mode only gives you 540p, low bandwidth, low latency. There is no reason for them to limit the modes for the channel allocation. What they should do is just give you everything available in both channel modes. So you can choose to use race band or you can choose to use the DJI channel. There's no... Why? Why are you limiting on this? The channel allocation has nothing to do with the modes. They may think it's a better way of doing it, but they don't. It's just weird. It's just weird. Looks nice when it comes to flying fast. And yeah, I have heard some freestyle pilots like it. They are using analog channels because it switches to one-way transmission. No, it doesn't. I can tell. No, it doesn't. Avatar HD does not switch to one-way transmission in race mode. No, it does not. The RF behavior is identical in race mode and standard mode. It is the same. Everything is the same. The only thing they're doing is just moving the channel allocation. That's it. That's all they're moving. Now, what I do think, yeah, likely to play better with lap timers and other channels and other systems. But the fundamental problem still is pilot flying quad on race 1, unplugs quad, goggles are still transmitting on race 1 at all times until you power them down. And I have heard that this was causing issues this weekend at Drone Fest in the UK. I couldn't go because I had family commitments, but I do believe this has been causing issues here. So it's still not perfect. So they're still having issues. So, but in the end, I think it's a nice feature. I don't think it's fundamental. It looks okay. But if for what you... Look, just to show you guys, just 2 seconds of something to show you. And I'm trying to... desktop. So obviously this is... I have 2 actual flights at the same time. One on HDZero and one on Avatar HD. Now this is the Avatar HD flight. Just... Again, I was trying to see what the compression was doing. I'm looking to what it does when you're moving around. What I'll be really interested to see is how a very, very fast race pilot sees it. I don't know how the compression is going to react. The interesting thing is most races are flown around fields. Let's be realistic. So there's always going to be a lot of green. It'd be nice if they separated common channels in race mode. Frame rate, 100 frames a second. Now, just so everyone understands, and I do cover this in the review, so race mode works on the goggles and the VRX, but it is 100 frames a second. You will still need 100 frames a second goggles if you're using the VRX module, so you need the HDZero goggles. It outputs the same frame rate. Nothing has changed on that. It's still 100 frames a second. It's just resolution is dropped. But yeah, just... Look, this is just mush at this point. Now, just to give you guys an idea, because somewhere here I should have a HDZero flight from the same time of day, but I just need to find it. I don't know what I did with it. MPEG 4. I think it's this one. This is a HDZero flight, different aircraft, different speed. The color difference between the cameras is astonishing. Now, this is HDZero 540p 90, just so everyone knows. It's the same same mode, literally flown at exactly the same time. Literally one flight down, one flight up. Lost signal there because it's HDZero. Because I'm side onto the aircraft. But HDZero's colours are completely different. They are really nice as well. This was just, but look, this is just to give you an idea of this was just a throw around. I'm trying to see the two between the two. The Walksnail 540, it is completely flyable. There's no question about it. Beta Max. And that was HDZero there behind the trees. What I will also add is the penetration performance. And look at that. I had an RC failsafe for no good reason. I have, funny enough, I've messaged Wes on that. I had an Express ELRS RC failsafe for no reason. There is actually a first part to this flight. I took it out and my camera angle was too low. It was barely moving. This is the first part of the flight. I was just doing, I was just making sure I was in the right modes. And I had not enough camera angle on. Crossfire, yeah, no, I think there's a problem on this receiver. Just look at the receiver on this. I don't know what's going on this quad. Something is bad on this quad because this is my Emax and I come back in because I didn't have enough camera angle. But if you look at when this fails, right, so here, watch the receiver, ready? So I am probably 100 meters to 150 meters, clear line of sight, completely clear line of sight. And look at that. Look, LQ has gone 719. Looks like a digital copy. Yeah, and it went 7-0. This, and then it came back as it hit the ground. I removed the Emax especially from the Hawk APS because of random failsafes. There you go, GMI. Exactly the same issue. Exactly the same issue. Random failsafes on that receiver. Weird. Really weird. I've not been able to... for those who don't know what it is, it's there... it's this. It's the Emax. I love this quad. It's one of my favourite quads. But yeah. Packet rate would have probably been 250. I tend to always leave my packet rate at 250. It's an Emax problem. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull the receiver out. You know, look at the antenna has got more space around it than bloody anything. The antenna isn't great on this either. Look, this little HDZero one. But I'm just going to put a Radio Master one in. I've got 5 or 6 Radio Master ones here. So I'll put one of them in. This is the only quad that's ever done it. Weird. Very weird. It's not an Express ELRS issue. It's just a receiver issue on that one. Big interface. I'm lit now. Like, I fly that area all the time. I lost HDZero there because I fell down behind the trees a bit. But I can fly that with all of my other Express ELRS quads at legal power without a problem. I'm not going to tell you how much power I was pushing there to make sure I didn't have any issues. Dynamic off. Because it had already failed safed once. And I was like, what's going on? So I pushed to make sure I wasn't having problems. So it is definitely something weird with this receiver. Definitely something weird with this receiver. So it needs to come out. So anyway, Avatar HD race mode. I think it's interesting. I think it has issues. The reason I hadn't put the video out, it's now finished because I had to do all of the testing. And it is more than just flying it around the field. It's about the RF testing, the spectrum analysis testing, like everything I've been doing with it. I've done a whole suite of full RF testing on it again. I summarize it in the video, but the interesting thing is very little has changed. 1.21 gigahertz. Yeah, I sent you a message, Wes. Wes, have you known any issues with the Emax receivers? You've probably seen the message I sent you. That's probably my first random... I've had Express ELRS failsafe, but never like this. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything going on with the Emaxes. Not yet, but I messaged you back. Okay, mate, no problem at all. I'll have a look after. It's really weird. It's really weird. I don't know. Did you see the video there where... I sent you the video anyway to show. Test it carefully. Steve is watching my videos. Ah, I should talk a bit about that at the end. Steve is watching your videos. Robin wins the internet today. That was dynamic power turned off. Okay, so that's that. The video comes out tomorrow if I don't get a ethics and thing video. I do, before I move forward, I do want to highlight something. As that subject has come out, I will just quickly talk about this. I put out a review of this radio last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago now. And overall, I think the review was very good. I think it's accurate. Apart from, I said something slightly wrong in that video. Now, Joshua Bardwell mentioned it in his review of the radio that came up later. And he was talking about this on the radio. He was talking about the pot, the single pot that is on there. And in my video, I referred to it as a rotary encoder. Now, that is actually wrong because it is a potentiometer. It's a pot. Now, there is a reason why I referred to it as a rotary encoder, because when I tore the radio down, I had a quick look and I sort of misread what was saying. I didn't look at that element as close as I should have. And when I looked at the board, I thought I saw D plus and D minus written on it. So what you'd normally have is, say, signal D plus, D minus, voltage D plus, D minus, something along those lines. And I had a quick look. And I just, for some reason in the video, called it a rotary encoder. And I don't really know why. Because it's one of those things, I thought one thing, said another. So I got it wrong. That was absolutely a mistake. It is not a rotary encoder. It is a potentiometer. I think that is the first mistake I've made this year. So I'll take it. I have put a post up on the channel. But look, I have always tried to make sure what I say is right. But there are times where sometimes your brain thinks one thing and you say something else. It doesn't change the radio, so it isn't a thing. But yeah, but it was wrong. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. I have pinned a comment on the video. Hopefully that is good enough for Steve. I have accepted responsibility. So from an ethics point of view, I'm fine. It was a non-intentional error that I will ensure we don't make again. Pull the video. Yeah, if it was, I would have. Just to give you an idea and just for complete clarity, the cost of me pulling that video, I'd have to actually check. What would it cost me to pull that video? To tell you how much of an unethical person I am, I have made on that video, that video has netted a total of where the bloody hell is the analytics? There we go. That video has netted a total of £28.98, which I will, on this stream, donate to the Express ELRS project for my error. So every time I make an error like that, I'm going to have to donate it to Express ELRS or the project associated with it. So I will donate all proceeds from that review to the Express ELRS project moving forward. Hopefully that puts it to an end. Auction the controller. No, because I like it. Sorry, I'm not auctioning it because I like it too much. It hasn't even made back his... So, there we go. I just need to find... If you don't know, Express ELRS does have an open collective account. They do have an open collective account. For those who don't know, it looks like this. And you've got donation, backer, or sponsor. So you can do a donation. You can do a one-time, a monthly, or a recurring. So it's going to have to be other... Oh, it's in bloody US dollars. Oh, God, it'll have to be 28, 38, 48, 58. Let's call it 60. Okay. 2 seconds. Oh my God, it wants me to check I'm human. Bloody hell, capture. Click on the elephant. Oh my God, it's got... I hate these new captures. There we go. 1 second. I'm getting there. 2 seconds. One more time. I've actually forgotten my... Oh, God, I forgot my password. Oh, bollocks. 1 second, and we'll move on to the DJI content. Now, I did see a question mark earlier about DJI O3 and a problem. Whoever asked it, please ask it again. I can't bloody log into PayPal. Found it. Oh, I'm going to have to do it off stream. Damn. Why can't PayPal just let you log in with your phone? Innit, huh? Let me just look at one more thing. I must have changed the password again. Yeah, I have. I've locked my account. Right. I will donate once this stream finishes. Right. Okay. Next subject, O3. Someone just mentioned caps lock. No, I'm going to have to do it after. Right. O3. Now, I did see a question. Someone asked earlier about an O3 air unit, and the question was, my O3 air unit in low power mode doesn't output RF, full RF power. It can't. There's no way of O3 being able to output its full RF power unless it receives an arming command from Betaflight. Low power mode on O3, turning it off doesn't give you full RF power. That's the one question I see. Now, let me just get on Google Drive, because I meant to get this going before I started the stream, and I forgot to do that as well. And this is something that I shared this week, actually. And I created this a little while ago, but I don't think I told everyone. So, there is a lot of confusion over the channel allocation and channels on O3. Now, there has been an assumption that O3 uses the same frequencies as channels as the original FPV system. However, it doesn't. Now, I actually created a channel chart for this, which I've shared around places here and there, but I never really shared it widely. Now I'm going to put it into this, which I'm going to cut for a full video. And I'm going to share this here, and there will be a download for this on the video when it's available. But the basics are O3 doesn't conform to the normal channel allocation of the V1 system. It doesn't conform to the channel allocation of Raceband or anything else. It is entirely custom. Now, before I go through this, there are some things you need to understand. O3 mode in auto has some specific behavior, and O3 mode in manual has some specific behavior as well. Regardless of if you're in FCC or CE mode, when you get O3, you will only have one channel available in 40 megahertz mode, which is 50 megabits a second, and 3 channels available in 10 and 20 megabits mode. That fact in itself doesn't designate the difference between FCC and CE. The only way you can actually get the full channels is by using the ham file. The ham file in CE gives you more channels and more RF. The ham file in FCC just gives you more channels. Now, to show you this new channel allocation chart, I do have this, and it is available as a download as well. On this, we have Raceband at the top. We have HDZero, which basically follows Raceband. We have the DJI FPV system, which is also the same as Avatar HD in its standard mode, which basically replicates DJI FPV in its standard mode. We've got DJI and Avatar in 50 megabits mode. And then we come on to O3. Now, when O3 is in auto mode, O3 will transmit its video on 5 gigahertz predominantly. It can transmit goggle telemetry and remote control if using the V2 remote on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. The frequency band that O3 has available to it to use in auto is between 5725 and 5850, which is this band here in the middle. If I just open mouse pointer, which just helps highlight it, it is this band here. In auto, O3 will not go outside of this band here. Now, it is worth me explaining one other thing. Technically, O3 can actually put video on 2.4 gigs as well. It has been confirmed by DJI to a number of vendors that O3 will also use 2.4 gigs for video. However, I have never seen it, and these vendors that I have spoken to have never seen it either. So, as far as I'm concerned, from all of my RF testing on this system for nearly a year, it never goes into 2.4 for video, but technically it is possible. Something else I need to add on this is in CE mode, in auto, it can also use 5.19 gigahertz as well. Now, I haven't got that here. I've got that listed down the bottom. It isn't on the chart, but in CE mode only, O3 can move its video. I have a video on this as well, onto 5.1 gigs, but only in auto. So O3 in auto has that band available. It tends to use that whole band, so it's worth understanding in auto. O3 keeps its video, telemetry, and RC signals separate, so they are not on top of each other. So video will be on one part of that band, telemetry and will be on the other part. And basically, if using O3 in auto, you should assume this whole bandwidth, 5725 to 5850, is consumed by the O3 system. It'll have video on one part of it, RC and telemetry on another. It takes up the whole area. Even if it moves RC and telemetry onto 2.4 gigs, there are still 4 carriers from the VTX that transmit on these frequencies down here under note 1, which is 5746, 5776, 5796, and 5812. Those carriers are pulsing carriers, always transmitting from the air unit, regardless of what the telemetry system is doing on the goggles. Now, with regards to O3 in manual mode, things are a bit simpler. You have 7 channels available in 10 megs and 20 megs, and 3 channels available in 40 megs, which is 50 megabits a second. But they do not conform to the same frequencies as the original FPV system. Number 1 is 5669 center frequency, compared to the original system being 5660. 7. Number 2 is 5705, and you can see that they're not quite the same. There is also a real annoyance that people have picked up on, that channel 5 on O3 overlaps public channel 8 on the digital FPV system as well, where it always boots up onto, and you don't want to fly O3 on that at all. You want to avoid channel 5 on O3 at all times, in my opinion, because anyone who powers up their original DJI FPV system, it blasts RF on channel 8 and it could wipe you out. So there is a huge potential issue there. With regards to obviously 40 megahertz, 50 megabits a second mode, it's on 1, 2, and 3 there. So that is the channel chart for O3. It is a little bit complicated, and I will share this separately. I have shared this around, but it is fairly simple when you get it and understand it. So, for instance, in auto mode, 5725 to 5850 in FCC can go to 5.190 in CE mode, only on the latest firmware. In manual mode, doesn't have the same channels, different channel spacing, can use 2.4 and 5.8 gigs for both goggles, telemetry, and RC control link, has always kept its video on 5.8, but technically is capable of going to 2.4. DJI have told vendors who work very closely with them, no, it will use 2.4 for video, yet no one has seen it. I actually had a vendor reach out to me after my RF testing, and they were like, look, we know you test this stuff. We're being told this from DJI, but we can't replicate it. Your video suggests it doesn't happen. We think you're right. Can you confirm? And we had a discussion on it. So this video on 2.4, I think it's wrong. I think DJI are giving the wrong information out, mostly because the people they're probably talking to don't know. And this is also why I have been told by a DJI rep myself that low power mode on O3 works exactly the same as it did on the original FPV system. And I'm screaming at them going, no, it doesn't. Here is the evidence. And I just didn't get a reply. Yet DJI actually told me A rep at DJI, the last one I ever spoke to, was like, no, you're wrong. The low power mode on O3 works exactly the same as the low power mode on the original FPV system. And I'm going, no, it doesn't. Here is the evidence. Literally, everyone can tell this. Here's the spectrum analysis data. Can you talk to your engineers and ask why we can't have full RF power? And I just got ghosted. So, what can I do? So, I hope that explains it. If there's any questions on that, please do put it into the chat and I will try and answer it. Now, I want to catch up and just say a big thank you to the Super Chats. Quad City Bay Area. I'm Walksnail O3 Lights. Awesome. But what about durability? We'll come on to that in a minute, my friend. Thank you for the $5 Super Chat. I'm sorry I missed that. It was a bit earlier. $1 from Quad City Bay Area. Sorry, my friend. I will come back to that question. We'll come to that after this. Ed Jakes, $10. Just to thank you, and if anyone has a good full tutorial on the Radio Master Boxer, I'm sorry. Right, I've never done a full tutorial on the Boxer because it's EdgeTX. You just need to do a full tutorial on EdgeTX. It doesn't have to be the Boxer. TX16, any of the EdgeTX radios, is the same. It's the same on all of them. That's why we love EdgeTX. A full tutorial on EdgeTX will get you there. Right, just going back up the chat a minute. My experience with DJI reps is they have a smoke signal style communication with DJI in China. You are correct. Yeah, auto, something with auto as well you want to be very careful of is don't fly with more than 2 pilots on auto. It doesn't like it on O3. If you're flying with someone else, use manual channels. And here's another reason why I didn't mention there. Something I mentioned earlier was in auto, O3 puts video on one frequency, RC and telemetry on another. In manual, it crams all of them together onto the one band of the video. So it overlays video and telemetry on the same channel. That way, taking up much less space. So in auto, as I said earlier, O3 will predominantly use that whole piece of bandwidth I talked about. In manual mode, it moves video and telemetry on to the same frequency. So it takes up far less space on the band. So O3 doesn't broadcast on 5.1 in FCC, but O4 does. Yes, potentially. And actually, O3 does as well on the DJI transmission system. And here's what's really interesting, Lon. DJI adding 5.1 gig was with the firmware for support for the air units. The firmware before that never, ever goes on to 5.1 gigs. It's only since the firmware that they added support for the DJI air units, the originals. But also, O3, it's just a frequency choice they've added. That's all it is, but they haven't publicized it. I'm convinced it's an oversight. I will be honest, I think it's a bug. It's capable, it shouldn't be doing it. I think they've missed something. Genuinely, I think they've missed something. And video goes down to 5.1 gigs as well. I do have a video on it where I actually show it, but it won't do it in FCC. Or at least I have never observed it in FCC, is what I should say. Okay, just catching back up on the chat. Can I ask about the Jumper T Pro? I ordered short sticks, but visually I can't see the difference. Any ideas? I'm not a big T Pro user. I'm sorry, I can't answer that one. Yeah, it's weird. The only concern is I don't think the antennas are well tuned for it. I think it's an error, personally, because I have checked the DJI antenna isn't tuned for it. I think it's an error. I think it's a mistake, is what I think it is. Does certificate mode still work on the newest DJI FPV mode, drone mode firmware version 1.4? I don't know what you mean by a specific certificate mod. I don't know. I don't have an FPV drone to comment on what mods do and don't work. If anyone wants to post me one so I can do all of the mod testing with the RF analyzer, I would love to. My O3 made in, I'm on channel 5 thinking it will be fine. My buddy plugs in his OG ear unit and I get total blackout powers on public, my channel and crash. There you go, Brandon, that's why. 5 on O3 is the same as public 8 on DJI on the original FPV system. O3 will be relevant soon. O4 is coming. O4 is O3. There's no difference. There is, but it's not enough to worry about for FPV. O4 is a new RF chipset, but it really is for their consumer drones more than FPV. What it might allow them to do is save a little bit of space on the PCB. Not a great deal, though. What O4 may give us is 75 megabits a second, potentially, and you might be able to have up to 6 antennas. More than anything, that's all O4 is going to give you. Basically, more bandwidth capability and 6 lanes for the antennas is what we believe. Now, could they be working on something even bigger? Potentially. But I'm not allowed to talk about that. Because I'm not meant to know about it. Just going down on the chat a minute. Always wanted more antennas. Yeah. O4 in itself, look, I have covered this before and I don't want to get down a rabbit hole too much with this. O4 is still, okay, I'm trying to think of a simple way to go down the road of this. O3, every part of O3 is either based off the P1 chipset or the S1 chipset. Okay, they're 2 chipsets which we're going to say are made by DJI, just for the purposes of this. Okay, the difference between the P1 and S1 is the P1 is an RF LTE modem and an ARM core chipset, so it's a transmitter and a CPU in one. Just think of it that way. It's the transmitter and receiver and processor in one. The S1 is just the transmitting processor. So, DJI have a habit of coupling one of these 2 chipsets to all of their gear. So, for instance, in the RCN1, the DJI standard remote controllers, they use the S1 chipset because they couple it to an outside processor. So they don't need a processor, they couple it to an outside processor. The remote DJI's consumer drones only tend to use bandwidths of about 15 megabits a second or less. They don't tend to go over that. The S1 is also limited to 20 megahertz carrier width. Okay? This is an important element. I believe it's 20 off the top of my head. This is very important. The P1 can do 40 megahertz, 50 megabits a second. The S1 can only do 20. So, on their consumer drones, they can use this chipset because most of their RF is only 15, 20 megabits a second. DJI then used the P1 in all of the higher end gear, so the bigger Mavics, and in FPV. So the original FPV system has the P1 on both sides in the goggles and the system, up to 40 megahertz, 50 megabits a second. RF chipset and CPU in one. They ran the whole software on the P1 chipset, on the goggle and on the VTX. One chip. You then have the external chipsets. You need the multiplexer for the RF, the power amplifiers, the voltage regulation, but the DJI bit was on one chipset. O3 is basically the same system, but it has more processing. The processor that is on board the P1 is not powerful enough. So what DJI did was attach it to what we know as the E3T or the Eagle, and they've done this in the Mavic 3s and others. And instead of using the processor that is on the P1, they use the processor that's on the Eagle, more powerful, more capable of decoding, H.265, more is better, hence O3. O2 to O3 is like having a computer with onboard graphics compared to a computer with an NVIDIA graphics card. That is the difference. That's the change. Now, in theory, you may think, well, wait a minute, if they're not using that processor on the P1, why didn't they just use the S1 chipset with that external processor? They can't, because the S1 is limited to 20 megahertz bandwidth, so they couldn't have full 50 megabits a second mode. So they have to use the P1, which can do 50 megabits, and ignore the onboard processor. Now, that is costly because you're paying for an ARM core that you're not using. You have the licensing fees on that piece of silicon for that ARM core. It's just a waste of space, a waste of licensing, a waste of cost. What DJI have done with O4 and what we've seen is they've created the S2, which now has just the RF modem, but now is capable, we believe, up to 60 megahertz carrier, 75 megabits a second. It has additional antenna lanes, but it has more RF capabilities, but it doesn't have that ARM chip because it's not used, but you have to couple it with the external chipset. So today, DJI could take an O3 ear unit, make a version 2 and replace the P1 with the S1. The real question is, though, what improvements would there be? Well, they could have higher bandwidth, always better is more bandwidth, and they can have more antennas because they've added more antenna lanes. We don't really need the more antenna lines in FPV, although it opens the door for goggles with 6 antennas now. So you could have 4 external and 2 internal antennas. It opens the door for things like that. However, there isn't anything fundamental. V4 great latency. It's all software. Remember with OcuSync, it's all software. Latency is just the software of the pipeline. Latency is dependent on what they want to do. We have, in O3, 1080p live feed, but it compresses. The DJI feed on their consumer drones is far less compressy, but it's far higher latency. It's just a seesaw. Latency and compression is a seesaw. Lower latency, more compression, more chance of image breakup, lower quality. Higher quality, longer latency, more residual link. It's a constant seesaw. DJI can make O3 do what it does on their consumer drones. It's just software. Compression, decompression, it's all a seesaw. It's yin and yang. It's all yin and yang. They can do what they want. So, as for what we will see, an O4 ear unit today would consist of the S2 and an E3T, which could give us a better, higher bandwidth mode, 60, 70 megabits a second. But the point we've sort of come to in FPV is, do we need it? O3 is really as good as it gets today. What they need to fix is the bloody cameras. The poor dynamic range of the cameras. It doesn't need more bandwidth. Now, what would be interesting is, and this is the bit we don't know, is can DJI make a new version of the P1 called the P2 with a higher, more powerful processor, which means they don't need the Eagle, which means they can go back to a single chip solution. That is the interesting thing, not the current chipset. Will they even make a new P2? I'm not convinced they will. I'm not 100% convinced they will. Although, when you look at some of their consumer products, the amount of silicon that is in them now is incredible. When you look at the Mavic 3 mainboard, right? It is insane just how much silicon is on this board. It is bonkers. I'm trying to find the images of both sides. It's just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. Okay, here we go. So here's some good images. O4 will have its own built-in FC. Bad for life, O3 already does. Here's something very interesting people may not be aware of. Before we do that, on the Avata, DJI run the flight control software and processor on the Eagle. The O3 Air unit is the same, it's just not using it. O3 today could run DJI's FlyStack. Can't run Betaflight because Betaflight's not designed for it, but it could run DJI's FlightStack. It is the same processor. O3 on the Avata, they run the FlightStack on the Eagle alongside the video processing. That's how powerful that chip is. On the O3 Air unit, they just don't bother. But DJI's flight code could be there. If they wanted to release their own FlightStack on O3 tomorrow, other than it not having the I/O, it's not there. It's just, it's capable. Now, this just gives you an idea of the amount of silicon in a Mavic 3, right? Just look at everything that is going on in here. So again, look. We've got an E2, an Eagle 2 chipset, a H6 processor, the P1 for the RF processor, still there, look, still there. We've got another main processor down here for the, I think that's the Vision processor down there. There is so much silicon in these quads, it is incredible. It is incredible. This is a Mavic 3. Now, interesting, and here's something other people may not realize as well. The difference between the Mavic 3 Pro and the Cine is ProRes. The hardware is already here. On the Mavic 3, they run the encoder for ProRes on the the Eagle chipset. It's just software. The standard Mavic 3 has the hardware in place already for it. All they do is, and this is the amusing part, right? DJI have all the chipsets in place. They just remove the connector so you can't attach in your own SSD. They leave all of the chipset in place and they remove the SSD connector. Obviously, the software isn't installed on this, but it is the same hardware. But there is so much silicon in these quads, it's ridiculous. It really is. Huge amounts of silicon. So, if DJI could make, and this is the big thing, right? This is where their benefit might be, because this is where you need to understand. The reason this H6 processor is here, because this P1 has a processor, but it isn't powerful enough to do this stuff. So the next big step for DJI is, can they fit all of this onto a P2 and save all of this space? That is the next challenge. There's a lot more in there than they're telling you. There we go. How did I get down that rabbit hole? Now, if there's any questions, please let me know before we move on. I just want to answer Quad City Bay Area's question. I'm Walksnail, but DJI O3 Lite is awesome. But what about durability? I actually think it's okay. So, and this actually will lead us nicely onto the next subject. But obviously, I did the O3 Lite this week. And that was this, and this is the O3 Ultra. I think durability is going to be okay on this because you still have the cans around the side. Now, I'm not going to conformal coat this one because it's in a whoop. I don't feel the need to conformal coat a whoop. But I think durability is going to be okay because you still have this protection. Although I will say the PCBs are really thin on this board. Let me just grab a Vista. What is interesting is when you compare the PCB thickness to a Vista. Let me just put it side by side. You can tell there is a substantial difference in the thickness of the PCB on the Vista compared to on the O3 Air unit. And that's where potential problems may arise if you start to bend that board. But yeah, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. Okay, catching up on the chat a minute. Let me get my mouse pointer off the screen. Cool, we've gone down some rabbit holes tonight, haven't we? Hopefully, Quad City, that answers your question. Thanks to Quad City and Ed Jakes for the super chats. They are more than welcome. They're not required, but they are welcome. Just catching down a minute. Vista still viable for low weight. Yeah, O3 Lite and O3 Ultra are basically down to Vista sizing and weight, though. I do like the O3 Ultra kit. I think it's really nice. I do. Now, while we are talking about this, it will lead us very quickly, nicely on to all of the other whoops that are coming like this. There is another one around the corner. Flywoo. Let me just find it. I've lost it. Flywoo have another one coming. They have announced this. They are sending me one. I'm going to try and review it when it comes. About the only annoyances, I've got to find another O3 Air unit. I'm going to say something in a minute, which is probably going to get me in trouble. Okay? And this is me being a bit prickly towards companies, but it is something interesting. But I will have that coming. Okay, I'll go there. So, there are many companies I deal with in FPV who will go, oh, we're going to send you this. It's on its way. Brilliant. Now, I never ask to keep anything. I will more than happily send everything back I'm ever sent. It is never deemed as payment for anything, okay? If anyone thinks me receiving a $300 or $400, even dollar product is payment for me spending an insane amount of time doing a review, testing, and putting a video out, you're bonkers. My life would be infinitely easier just to go and buy everything and not make videos. I am not a full-time channel. I am not here to make money. Okay? But there are some vendors who reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to send you this quad. It's got an O3 Air unit in it. Brilliant. And there are many others that will go, oh, we're going to send you this kit, but we're not going to send you an air unit. You're going to need to have your own. Or we're going to send you it as a kit, but you're going to have to put your own air unit in. And it tends to be a thing. Now, I don't have an issue with that. But here is a very real problem I'm going to be clear to all vendors with. I'm sorry, I ain't tearing this apart just to make a review for your product. Because I've built this up as my favorite little quad right now. So I'm going to have to now scratch around and find another O3 Air unit probably convert that to be able to make the video. Now, the reality is I need a bench ultra ear unit now. That's the very basic situation. I always have a bench ear unit of everything. So I have an O3 ear unit. I have a Avatar. I have a thing. For these reasons, I put it in a quad, I take it out. I put it in a quad, I take it out. But it does make me chuckle when they're like, oh, can we send you this? Oh, but you're going to have to put your own ear unit in it. So you get these massive companies who want to send you a product, and then they go, but you've got to put your own ear unit in it. Now, I don't actually mind it on something like this, that they are selling without the ear unit. I get that. I do understand that. But when they're sending you one, which they're going to ship with an ear unit, but they don't want to send you one, it does rub me up the wrong way. Now, I wouldn't care if they want me to send the ear unit back. But now I've got to tear down a bloody quad to put an ear unit, to find a bloody ear unit to put in it. And this is why you will see people... I will have to modify the ear unit. I'm going to have to make another Ultra. I'm going to have to order another Ultra kit, and I'm going to have to make another Ultra. Now, I will say this. There are brands that just send you it as it is. But there are reasons why. I think Albert Kim was saying the other day that he's got a review coming, but he's going to have to wait because he's doing a review. So if I got 3 quads, right, to review, and I need that ear unit in each of them, they're going to have to go in order. So it's an interesting observation I've made from some FPV companies. We want to send you this, but we're going to send you it as a kit. Can you build it up and make a video? And then you'll receive it 2 days, and they'll be sending you an email asking you when the video is going to be ready. And it is just a little bit frustrating. It would almost be like, right, Radio Master going, we're going to send you this radio, but we're not going to send you the gimbals. So we're going to send you the Boxer, but we're not going to send you the gimbals because you should already have them in your TX16. It's a weird situation. Everyone has problems with the new Nazgul O3 blacking out under high load. Mine hasn't. Mine's been phenomenal. It's a bloody loud quad, but it's been phenomenal. We need a frame with a clicking ear unit. Yeah. Compared to DJI O3, how far behind is Avatar HD Walksnail? A long, long way. So, from an image quality point of view, night and day. Night and day behind. From an RF link performance point of view, night and day. Where Avatar HD wins is the availability of cameras, VTXs, and wide range of features. Avatar HD is the best overall FPV system, but from an image, they're probably 2-3 years behind. Someone just said, it's like sending you a transparent shell for a review expecting you to have the radio. Yes. I just find it interesting, and I don't want it to sound like woe is me, but it is interesting that these vendors expect you to have your own ear units on review units. I'd rather they sent me one that I had to send back. Because I'll be honest, Avatar is not remotely close to DJI from an RF performance point of view. Its RF performance is frankly garbage in comparison. It has no focus mode, very little penetration in comparison to O3. Its luma and its compression performance is frankly horrible. It remains horrible, and it isn't within 3 years of DJI. Where Avatar wins is that it has cameras that you can swap the lenses on. It has multiple receiving options. It's all image. It's image and RF. The RF system is hands down light years ahead on DJI. The only thing Avatar really wins on is having a system that you can change the cameras, multiple VTXs, multiple receiving options. Wes says no range limit. O3 is 20 kilometers. Avatar is further. I don't really ever bring that up because most people don't fly 20 kilometers. I think it was important when DJI was 6, not at 20. I don't talk about that bit a lot, unless you want long range, but yeah, limited, although you can do 30 kilometers on a Vista. Price is cheaper. Yes, it is cheaper. But if we're going to talk range equals RF performance, no, it doesn't. Range is how far it will fly. How Avatar looks very good in wings, actually. It's one of the best use cases for Avatar. Its low, fast compression behavior is just junk, remains to be junk. Its AGC control still isn't great, but O3 is worse. So it's fair. It's got a long way to go. Where Avatar wins is in the fact of it has cameras with standard lenses, it has multiple cameras, multiple VTXs, multiple receiver options. But from an RF link performance, how the link holds up, DJI is light years ahead in penetration, in how it behaves, how it breaks up, how the region of interest behaves, how the O3 system recovers. Avatar HD is not cheap, but you need 4 good antennas. You do need good antennas. Its RF system is compromised. It's not 4x4 MIMO. It's single transmitter, 3 receives on the goggles. It is far more basic on a technical level as well. Now, that isn't to say it isn't usable. That isn't to say it doesn't suit more pilots. But if you're going to talk about what is the best low latency system, HDZero hands down. End of non-discussion. What is the best racing system? HDZero. Hands down. What is the best system for image quality and recording? O3. What is the best system for range? HDZero and Avatar HD, because they both have no limits, although DJI can still do 20 kilometers. What is the best system for penetration and RF behavior? It's DJI. But what is the best overall system for a general FPV pilot if you want digital? It has to be Avatar HD, because HDZero can't keep up on an image quality point of view. But let's not pretend that compression is not horrific still on Avatar HD, because it is. The codec still has real horrible behavior. Horrible behavior, especially in the greens and the lumas. If you want range, it's HDZero Avatar HD, because both are non-limited. Yeah, O3's recovery is interesting. It's not one I can comment on a lot because I don't do that type of long range. O3's recovery, the Vision 1 system's fine, but O3, there is real question marks. But the only problem we have with that is I'm not sure there's enough data to say it's all of the time on O3. AV Physics, Avatar and HD have better recovery. Definitely. But what I don't know with O3 is O3, I think it's sporadic problems on O3 and not it's terrible, because I don't think it's all of the time. HDZero has a lot going for it, but it doesn't have the penetration and it doesn't have the image quality. I'm sorry, that's just fact. I'm not saying it doesn't look nice. I actually really like the 540p race mode. The camera color is really nice, as I showed earlier. It looks really nice. Will O3 price drop? Who knows? There was rumors of an O3 price drop, but it never happened. Only DJI can tell us. Avatar has its benefits. There's no question about that. Can you update the firmware on the HDZero VTXs in the goggle menu? Yes, you just got to plug them in. Does DJI still go to sleep? So the way DJI always works is, okay, when the VTX signal is lost, the goggles stop transmitting. That's always been the case. It's not asleep, it just happens. The goggles only transmit on valid VTX signal. The VTX doesn't go to sleep. It just moves to a holding frequency and pulses. So it goes into a two-stage loss. Initial loss is jumps to another frequency and waits, and then over a longer period of time, it'll drop to pulsing. But and the goggles sit there listening for that pulse. The real good thing with it is the way it works is it actually drops down to a 10 megs carrier. So with that should push on through and give you better recovery behavior. I just think I'm not convinced the O3 recovery issues are every time. I think there's a bug there that it just doesn't recover as it should now and again. It's definitely there. We know it exists. Wes has seen it. Others have commented on it. But I don't think it's every time. It is slow, though, to recover normally. It isn't the lot. It's a slow recovering link. DJ knows how to make money. DJI O3 needs straight cam. Yeah, we need better cams on O3. Hands down. Hands down. The thing to always remember with Avatar HD versus DJI, Avatar HD, DJI is like Apple. DJI own the silicon. DJI own the software. DJI own the flight stack. Apple, like an M1 processor in a Mac. That is what DJI is. They own the whole stack. Avatar HD is like Dell making a laptop. They are buying the chipset off the shelf, tweaking the knobs and controls that are given to them by the chipset manufacturer, but they don't own the chipset. They don't control the fundamental deep code. They are playing within a walled garden. That's why we have a difference between Apple and the rest of the PC industry now, with the M1, the M2, M3 around the corner, running ahead because they own the stack. They're not buying in the chipset, and that's the difference. Wes said, O3 seems to run into that issue when you're at very low signal out of 23 kilometers and you lose the link for a minute or more. Interesting. And it gives up until it gets much closer home. Yeah, there's definitely something off. There's no question it's happening. TCC? Who's TCC? Someone said TCC. I don't know who you mean by TCC. TCMC, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, technically they're buying they're taping out, but yeah, they own it is the difference. TCM, TSMC, I think you mean. Yes, yeah. Is how I explain Android. Yeah, it's the same issue. It's the same problem, and I'm not saying it's bad. You just have to have an understanding. You just have to understand. It's the same reason, really, Tesla has pushed out so far in the car industry, simply because Tesla owned their own stack, top to bottom. You know? Apart from the first car, which was a Lotus Elise. But that's something else. Okay. What else did I have in the title tonight? If you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. Super chats are more than welcome. If you want to support the channel, they are there. So I've done the channel map. So we need to do two more things. We're going to take a quick look at the Jumper T20. Now I do have it. I've lost it. It's here. Now, I don't know which one this is. I'm bloody confused. I assume, and there is going to be a review on this coming. I haven't had a chance to open it up yet. But this is the T20. Now, let's go to the overhead. Ugh, that's a little bit close. There we go. Let's get out here. So, I've been sent the T20S. So, the one I've got is this one. I don't know which one this is. I believe this is going to be the pot gimbals. Now, there is a huge amount. Got your 18650s for it. I'll be putting 18650s in, Wes, because I don't have the others. But here is the T20. Now, it has the folding antenna, which also rotates, which is nice. Although, it's a little bit loud. And I'll see if you can hear this. That happens when I rotate the antenna. Bit weird. Initial thoughts. Plastic casing is blue. It's quite nice. Plastics feel good. They don't feel super cheap. So we're not talking TX12 cheap. Absolutely not. I'd say boxer plastics. What does it smell like? Apple pie. Antenna doesn't move itself, but it is noisy. Let me just show you this. It's just little things because I am a pedantic. There's like lots of noises of the cable in there. Weird. So sticks feel okay. There is flex. Can you see that there? There is flex. Frankly, and I'll talk about this in an instant observation I made is, I think there's far too much going on these gimbals. You've got like little bits of metal screwed on here and here. You've got bits in there. I think there's just too much there. But they're not the most solid. They're not the weakest. These pots down here feel fine. But they're not CNC. No, correct. They're not CNC. Buttons. That's okay. They feel all right. They feel a bit cheap. They don't feel great. I'll be honest. Power button's fine. They're okay. Switches feel okay. However, now I have taken this out the box once and put it back in. Obviously, OLED display there. I do have an issue with these buttons on the top. So the switches feel okay, right? And on the top, and I'll just show you now, you've got two rotaries, potentiometers. They don't feel great. I'm going to be honest with you. They feel rough. They actually feel like it's rubbing a little bit. Indent is okay. It's all right, but not sure at all. Not sure about that. You've then got these push button switches here, right? Now, these are latching, but I think these are terrible. Okay, I'm going to say that up front, having tested them once already. So the way these go is this, right? They don't push down like this switch does on here. So look, these latch, okay? And they don't latch from a side. They latch in and out. That's a momentary, but these latch in and out, okay? These are pivoted. So that you can't push them there at the tops. They pivot down like that. Okay? Now, my issue is, my finger here, I can barely get my finger on top of it. So, they are not comfortable. They are not nice at all. My finger is hitting up against this area here to get to that. I can't get my finger on the middle of it as I'd like to. It doesn't feel right. I don't like them at all. I'm also concerned that I'm going to knock them. I'm not going to be able to use that as my arm button because it's right there. It's too easy to knock. I would have preferred there to have been push buttons on the corners here like we have on the Boxer or the Pocket. Then on the back, there's no module bay, which I don't like. I don't like radios without module bays. You can put an adapter on there. I'd rather they put a fan in a module bay than this. But it has got 1 watt of express ELRS. So at the end of the day, it's got plenty of power. Plastics feel good. I like the case. It is more comfortable in my hand than I anticipated. I thought this radio would feel weird in my hands just because it was so short. However, it actually feels okay. It actually feels all right. I haven't reviewed it yet. I haven't flown it. Rubber grommets, yeah, they're just plugging holes by the seams of it. Someone asked about them. You pull them out and it leaves you a hole to the inside of the radio. I'm assuming for more switches. So that's what they are. Overall, interesting. Need to spend some more time with it. This is the 2.4. The gimbals don't feel the best. I don't know which gimbals these are. Are these the pot ones? I'm going to have to tear it down to find out when we do the review. I had a lot of people ask me on this about what's it like compared to the Pocket. These two are not comparable radios. I don't think you should be comparing these. This is a competitor to the Boxer. This is just a different radio. Honestly, the Pocket is not compared to this. Look at the size difference. They're not the same radios. They're not designed to be. I think this is in the Boxer territory, not the Pocket territory. But no, there you go. You can see them both there. They're very different radios. They're very different radios. Which one would you have? I wouldn't fly the Pocket full time. I love the Pocket, but I wouldn't fly it full time. I think it's a great second radio. It's a bench radio. It's great for whoops. I actually really like it for cine whoops. But I wouldn't use this for freestyle all the time. It's got a thing. What's the size compared to a Boxer? 1 second. It's in my bag. I was flying it earlier. So, just so you guys can see. Let me just move that. Obviously, I've got all this crap in front of the camera a minute. Let me just push that there. Move that out the way. Push that there. There you go. You can see it. We've also got an antenna. Let me just move the antenna. Quads on the side here. There you go. So that gives you the size idea compared to the Boxer. So it's a shorter radio, but it is about the same width. Very similar width. I think it's nice. I think it's got potential. What I think, though, very initial thoughts are, I think it's a radio you're going to end up spending a bit of money on to get it the way you want it. But then again, I can't say that's not the case on this because, this thing is blinged up anyway. So the Pocket feels like you're fingering a Fisher Price. The real interesting thing with the Pocket is the quality is really high on this radio. I'd say the Pocket is a higher quality radio. How Radio Master made this Pocket feel as good as it did, I don't know. Genuinely, this radio feels amazing. This thing is just... The plastics just feel... Honestly, this is the most solid, weighty, nice feeling radio I felt for ages. It just is brilliant. Brilliant. However, I don't think it's comparing it to that. I think it's compared to this. Plastics are good. Gimbals, not so much. I have seen there's been guys talking on my Discord about this. They think you're going to be able to put the AGO ones in this, but it's going to take some modification to them. The board is in the way, so you can't just straight fit AGO ones, I don't believe. Now, I do think Bruce has got a video out. I haven't watched it because I don't want to be skewed by other people's thoughts. So I'm going to be reviewing it. I think it's a radio you're going to end up spending some money on. But then again, I can't say that isn't the case for the Boxer either. This radio is just phenomenal. But I actually think it's nice. I am spoiled when it comes to gimbals, yeah. Yeah, but what I would say is this. The V4s are better than them. In fact, if the V4s would fit this radio, I would just swap them out for the Radio Master V4s, is what I would say. But overall, I think it's interesting. It's a nice looking radio. The plastics have impressed me, although I think mine's got a little bit of a crack on it. Or a scratch. I don't know if it's a crack or a scratch. I noticed this. I'll show it on the stream. Let me just show you this. If you look there next to that screw, can you see? I think it's a crack. I noticed it when I opened the box. It's not a hair, before someone asks. But yeah, there's definitely, I think it's a crack in that plastic. Gimbals, but yeah, look, there's, yeah, in the faceplate. Look, that. The V4s, yeah, between the pots, just down there, look, yeah. But it is what it is. So, at the end of the day, it's molding, maybe. But yeah, overall, interesting radio. Now, before we finish this stream up, we're going to do a bit of an unboxing and have a look at what Fly Tribe have very kindly sent me over. Before we do that, though, I just want to say if there are any questions, please do put them in the chat and I will try and answer them. I just want to put this away before I do that. They do include a nice little strap as well, though. T20 not having Hall effect. Well, I think these are the pots. These are the Alps, I believe. Which will be interesting. I'm just going to put that back up. Tested the fly. Have I tested the Flyfish flippy antennas? No. I've just installed them. I've started doing the video. Wes has got me onto that before I move on. Yeah, oh, God, that's not the overhead. I do now have these. These are the new Flyfish G2s for the DJI Goggles 2. I actually really like them as an antenna. If you lose your DJI ones, you're going to want to get these anyway. These are direct fit, no adapters, basically direct replacements for the original DJI antennas. I did have a very long chat with Flyfish RC on these, and I'll say this, okay? You can see them there. They look good. And for those who don't know about these antennas, these are dual band, dual polarized, horizontal and vertically polarized antennas, linear, dual band, 5.8 and 2.4 gigs as well. I know the guys at Flyfish RC have spent a lot of time testing these. And I'll say this, right? There are companies I deal with that you sort of go, oh, we're sending you a new product, and you have a sales rep reach out and you just talk to that sales rep or whatever. The guys over at Flyfish RC, and I don't know where they've come from. I don't know who they are, because we all know they've appeared literally out of nowhere and they are delivering some really interesting products. But I can tell you now, they know their stuff. And I mean from an RF point of view and stuff. They are not just some company appeared going, oh, we're going to make some stuff. They are doing proper testing, proper work. And what is also interesting is this, right? Let me just bring up the way. Flyfish RC. If I go to the desktop and if I show you their website a minute, let's just find the G2 antennas. I believe, if I'm right, let me just check on this. I was told they are even publishing proper RF data. The standard T20 has Hall. Yes, the T20S has pots, I believe. They are even publishing full RF test data. Look. Now, the only other company generally... This shows you they're A, doing proper RF modeling. And they're also showing you the S11 curve as well, which is really interesting. Will they make an Integra retrofit? I don't know if they're going to make a set with pigtails. That would be interesting. But I will say this. They are... I've got a bunch of their antennas I've been testing. The other ones I've had no problems with at all. They're doing good work. They're not just a Chinese company smashing out crap. That's what I will say. Very impressed with their knowledge and the stuff they're testing, telling me so far. Very interested. Very interesting. So I'll be testing them soon, but they're cool. Yeah, I don't know who they're tied to. I don't know where they've come from. But they are making some nice gear. It's awesome. Yeah, the Volador is a really great frame. Volador. Flyfish give me iFlight spin-off vibes. I'll let you say that. Take a look at the motors. Any plans to review the VAS Avatar VRX antenna upgrades? Not seen them. Which are the VAS ones? I don't... I'm going to come on to the other stuff. Is anyone got a VAS? The VAS Avatar VRX antenna upgrade. VAS Avatar VRX... yeah, I know who I'd be crazy. I know who he is. I thought he'd stopped making antennas. I thought he'd pulled out. I didn't realise he was still doing stuff. Look, we know... I didn't realise he was actually still doing stuff. Yeah. Look, I'd be crazy. He's been around a long, long time. I can't remember his name. And I'm going to avoid the controversy on some of the comments. I think look, let's stick to products. And look, he's been around a long time. Interesting. So he's clearly still making product. Yeah, looks interesting. 10 dB. Look, you're going to be able to put all sorts. Look, you could put a set of X's on it. You could put... I don't think it's particularly anything groundbreaking. He's definitely a clever guy. That is for sure. He's been around a very long time. I'd be interested in trying it out. I remember watching the videos on how to make his clover leaves. You know, he's been a fundamental part of the hobby for a very long time. Yeah, I'd be interested in trying it. Being blunt, I'm not going to pretend it looks like, look, you could put a set of X's on it. Is it going to be any better or worse than X's? I don't know. It is a nice looking setup. They've always been good antennas. But I don't, I don't know what it's going to be like compared to an XA2 or something like that. I just don't know. Okay. Now, before I wrap this up, I received this week a care package from the guys over at Flytribe. Now, they sent me this big envelope with a couple of magazines in it, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. And they've also sent me over this little care package as well, which I want to say a massive thank you to them for. Let's have a look at what we've got. They've sent me some t-shirts. That means I'm going to be wearing them on the channel. So this is going to be a bit of blatant shilling for Flytribe. But to be clear, I have no benefit or financial interest in Flytribe at all. We have some stickers, which is very nice. Thank you very much, guys. They've sent me a t-shirt. I wonder how they knew my size. They didn't ask, but they have got it right. So I have some t-shirts, a bag of swag. We like that. We definitely like that. We've got, oh, what's this one? We got another one. Nice. Cool, that's white. Look at that. And then we got the grey one. I really like this grey one. This I like. I really like this. The light and dark greys. The dark grey's my favourite, but I like the light grey as well. When you grow out of that t-shirt, as I will, that's real nice. I like that. I like that a lot. They've sent me a Flytribe cap. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Look at that. Cover my bald head. I feel like Ken now. Ken Dobo. Mad wearing a hat. This is probably the only time you will ever see me wearing a cap. Oh, actually, it needs to be. There you go. Digging it, digging it, digging it. And they've sent me, Jesus, that's heavy. And they've sent me this. They've sent me this as well. I'm going to have to, we're going to have to, wait a minute. We need to shill this to the max. We're going to shill it to the max. Do a wrap. There we go. We're back. Someone will do a meme. Feel American with a cap on. I look 10 years younger with the cap. Yeah, thank you. And they've sent me this. Now, this is the important stuff. Let's get into this. Now, they have sent me another copy of the last magazine, because they did send me one, but I think the post system ate it. It came in a little bit rough, the thing. But we also have... Let's have a look. Oh, what we got. Wow, they come in cardboard. So... let's go to the overhead. So we've got the July. I'm trying to remember which one is which. Let's have a look. Because they did send me one before, but it got eaten in the post. So which of these is which? Let's just have a look. So that's May's, the first one. We went through that on the channel. We've seen that. I'm going to put that one back away and keep that very, very clean. But we now have the new one from... this month. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole book because you need to buy this. If you want to see the whole thing, you're going to have to buy it. Right? That's for sure. But just to give you... oh, man. The images, again, are just phenomenal. I'm not going to go the whole thing. But just look at some of the images in here. Just... some of the guys there. Bot Grinders Motors, look. So much nice stuff. The photography from these guys last time was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It really, really is. Really nice. Really thick book. Johnny FPV Banshee 8-inch camera drone, cinema drone. Very nice. Just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, you guys can order this. I don't know if it's still available. Just the photography is just... this is going to be a... This is going to be something I enjoy. You know, look, you don't get stuff like this these days anymore. I remember when, for those who are in the UK, I'm getting too hot to wear that. I'm sorry, but it's like an oven. Look at the image on the back. Look at that. That's awesome. It's beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous. I was the person who grew up with like the Maplin catalogue and proper magazines. Farnell for the US people. Used to be the laminated book of dreams is what I used to call them. And stuff like this is just simply amazing. It's beautiful. It is phenomenally well put together. These guys are just doing amazing, amazing work. You don't get stuff like this anymore. Please do support them. They do have a website. I don't know, have they uploaded it? I can't remember. Let me just find. Last time they did upload the magazine onto their website. They've got it here. You've got the July edition, which you can purchase now for $24.99. It's worth it. It's absolutely... I used to stare at the top shelf magazines. You can also get the T-shirts, $19.99 as well. Very good, actually. Available to order directly from Flytribe now. You've got the grey there. That's the colour I'm currently... Is that the colour I'm currently wearing? Available in all traditional sizes as well. You've got the cap, the battery strap, and you've got the magazine too. It's just phenomenal. Really, really is. And you can now subscribe and pre-order for the September edition too. It really, really does. Look, it is absolutely phenomenal. What these guys are doing, look, we need to support this. We don't get stuff like this in FPV. We won't have it if we don't support it. Nice things like this don't exist if we don't support them. And it's just, it's phenomenal. It really, really is. So please do check them out. Yes, I am shilling for them, but I think we don't get to have nice things if we don't support it. And things like this are just a dying form of art that we just don't see anymore. And if people are not paying for the images, if people are not paying for these books, these guys taking the images, these guys doing the work are not getting paid. I am the first person to do everything online, but it doesn't make it better. And unless we're supporting stuff like this, it will not only not exist, but people won't be able to make livings. People won't be able to be creative in the same ways. We're all too used to going online, clicking on an image and just using it and taking it. And it's just, you know, the stuff people are doing here is just great. It really, really is. So please do support it. Please do check it out. The link to the website's there. You can order the next mag as well. Yeah. Just a massive thank you to the guys over at Flytribe for sending it over. I am going to cut this as a separate and put it on the channel. It's really cool. Really cool. Just too cool, isn't it? It really is. Pricing wise, it's look, you're going to have to pay if you want something like this as well. You know, $24.99 for the mag, which is, I think it's good. Look, at the end of the day, it's heavy. I can't underestimate just how heavy this book is. I don't even want to hold it. It's too nice to be holding. It's got my sweaty hands all over it. But look, just some of the pictures. Just, yeah, truly amazing. Really is. Really is. So that's my bedtime reading. Okay, guys, just going to catch up now on the chat. Just before we finish this one up, because it's gone midnight. You can tell it's a bank holiday in the UK. Am I late? Yes. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been here tonight. Thank you for the super chats. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel, either through the super chats or Patreon. As I said, I am going to be turning on membership. I think it's a YouTube thing. I don't know how it works. I'm going to turn it on and see what happens. If that's your thing and you want to support the channel that way, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I've still got a lot of stuff to finish. Tomorrow will be the review of the Avatar HD. I've got the radio to start playing with. Is there anything else I got to do? I'm a bit behind on stuff. There is something else. Oh, I'm trying to finish the camera butter ND filter review. They're fantastic. It's just constantly raining. But lots of other stuff like that. Stay safe. Thank you for spending some time with me on a Sunday night. As always, look after yourselves. We'll be back again soon.